this is not sci-fi. This is what is right around the corner.
Welcome to the Measure Success podcast, where we talk with top leaders about effective strategies that inspire success. Very excited to have with us today. Trey, is this your third time?
Third or fourth, Carl, I
You
think.
might be
Yeah.
four. You might be our first four time.
Man, it's like the Saturday Night Live host, when they host the fifth time, they get a smoking jacket or something. So I'll be on the lookout
Okay,
for
yeah,
mine.
the smoking jack is on its way. I mean, maybe the fifth time we'll have to validate that. We're gonna have to do something special when you officially and you also spoke at our workshop in November in Phoenix, and
Well, it
so
was a good
that's
time.
a whole different category. But just for the once again, if you happen for some reason haven't listened to Trey Taylor, and by the way, Trey, we got rated again in the top 10 in strategic planning podcast, which was pretty sweet because we don't apply for this. This is appreciative, of when you actually
Right.
somebody tells you you're better than you expected. And so we are in the top 10 of strategic planning podcasts and appreciate people like you. But if you don't know Trey, Trey is first of all author of A CEO Only Does Three Things. I was going to pull it up, which is sitting right over there on my bookshelf. He's a business strategist, entrepreneur, investor, speaker. He is CEO of Taylor Insurance Services. He sets manager, director of Trinity Blue Consulting, founding partner of Ascend Partners. They have family office where they invest in I think hundreds now. Are you in hundreds?
Hundreds, yeah.
Yeah.
310 different positions right now. Yeah.
Okay. So you need to listen to this podcast today. That's kind of Trey is one of the most read, but what I also most action oriented people that I know. But the best part is he probably works less hours than you do. When we use the term work, needing to show up now. If he's home for dinner, probably more commonly than you are, unless when he's traveling, of course, on a regular basis. Hey, Trey, welcome.
Thank you. Carl, good to see you. What an introduction.
Hey, you just came back. I love it. You said you just came back from New Orleans, which is one of my favorite places. Of course, you went to school down there, so that's
I did.
kind of
Yeah.
your backyard, so to speak. Being back in that neck of the woods. You said it was cleaner than it's ever been. Is that right?
I was stunned by how much the city has woken up to the idea that a clean and attractive New Orleans will attract a very good class of high spending tourists for business and for pleasure. I don't know why it took them so long to figure it out. They have figured it out. I wouldn't eat on the street in the French Quarter, but it was the cleanest I have seen it in more than 25 years. It was a delight to be there.
And that's saying a lot, because of course, New Orleans really took such a negative nosedive after Katrina, and it's taken years to recover. And I'm not sure if it ever fully recover. I mean, anytime you have a catastrophic hit like that,
Yeah.
it really changes what happens. But we're gonna just go right there because talking about catastrophic hits, we're just gonna go right in, Trey.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this, but the momentum, the tsunami, the hurricane. We've been using an analogy recently. Remember Tom Hanks and Lieutenant Dan with the Bubba Gump shrimp boat,
Yep. Yep.
right? And they're out there in the harbor, and this hurricane comes in, and Lieutenant Dan's screaming in the top of voice, desperately, "We're going to survive. We're going to get through this." The storm gets through. They're still in the boat. They come back in. They're the only shrimp boat left, right?
Full of shrimp.
And they're full of shrimp.
Yeah.
This is what's happening right now. People don't realize it. It's the beginning stage of the tsunami where that water is going underneath. There's the early stage of the wind, and you don't realize the tsunami is coming or hurricane is coming. But pretty soon, there's only going to be a few companies in each respective industry or each respective local area that's going to win.
Yeah.
So let's talk about practical because people are like, no, that's not true. And I'm still going to my regular thing and same thing. Nothing's changed. But that's not what you and I are seeing. So
Not
let's
at
talk
all.
about what you're seeing.
So I had an interesting week this week because I spoke at an event and the event had a speaker on AI. And then I had a board meeting and we had an outside person come into the board meeting at the request of a couple of the board members who gave a presentation on AI. And these were both highly compensated, highly intelligent people, and I was stunned that we were paying them money to say what they were saying. Um, their message was AI is coming, you better get prepared. If you are in a place where that is news to you, you are roadkill on top of toast. You're done. You will not catch up. AI is not coming. AI is here, and we're in the fourth phase of AI, which, if any other industry technological innovation that we looked at would take 5 years, we're 2 years in, not even a full 2 years in. And so it was a real stunner for me that people were not understanding that. One of these speakers spent 30 minutes talking about prompts and how you get prompting correct and that sort of thing. We're just past that. It's just not that anymore. We are now to the point where AI is speaking to AI, and we want that to be happening. We have less we have less of the actual tactile input work to do now, and it will be even less a year from now. I had a friend at lunch today say, "Hey, in 1 year, we're not going to say the word AI anymore.
Mm.
It's all going to be utility. It's all going to be assumed." But when I look at my consulting clients and in their businesses, I don't see anybody building around that coming reality. I
Mm.
see everybody trying to catch up, and it's going to be a bloody field at the end of it.
And it's what's going to be fascinating about this. It's going to be so different than a recession. It's going to be so different. You know what I mean? Like, your 2000. Think of the Great Recession, or the dot-com bubble, right? Where it was devastation. Like, if you were in the Bay Area in 2001, it was like a ghost town in San Francisco, right?
Yep.
Um, if you were in the construction industry or the mortgage industry after the Great Recession, 2009, 2010, it was a ghost town, right?
Yep.
Things were not going up, houses were being boarded up, right? This is going to be different. It's once again, it's going the difference of this is how fast that all of a sudden a well-deserving, very successful company all of a sudden can't be found on the internet anymore, and they're wondering why they're not getting phone calls
Yeah.
when all of a sudden a competitor has come in and made them unfindable, has blocked them, right, from content and search. They think they're fine because they got this HVAC company, right? Because they've been the darlings in PE,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
right? But then all of a sudden, they were the ones who decided to hold out but didn't
But
adapt.
Carl, I'll push you one level before even further than that. In a year, our AI agents will be calling other AI agents to source HVAC. And they won't call one. They won't use the yellow pages. They won't use a Google search. They will call every single one that is possible to do the work, negotiate the rate and the timing and everything else and the payment terms and all of that. And all I will have done is to say, hey, I think there's a hole in the roof. This is not sci-fi. This is what is right around the corner. Now, I'll tell you the really scary. So I feel like we're peddling fear porn a little bit, like, hey, everybody be super afraid because you're going to lose your job and you're going to have
No,
your
no,
business.
no, no.
I don't mean that at all.
Yeah,
I mean that the time to prep that is now.
that's right.
So I think you know this. I have a very rigid schedule in the morning. I don't take any business call anything until 9:30 a.m. Eastern, right? And if you ever get me on the phone at 9 o'clock, it's a very rare thing. Jillian, my assistant, knows this. That's how things work. Well, I do quiet time. I do my meditation, reflection. I read Rumi, my favorite poet, every single morning. And then I do an hour of AI work. I read 5 or 6 AI newsletters. I go try the apps that they say. If they have a prompt or a script or a technique, I go and do that as well. I do all of that to keep my chops up. I want to get my reps in. And I'm still not great at it. But I'm earlier than almost everybody that I know, and it's because a recognition and an intent that I'm not gonna be left behind on this. I am to the point, and so are so many of my friends and clients, that we have assets that we've worked to build, we have businesses that we've worked to build, and that the extension of those things through the use of technology is so palpably close now, that those things are going to compound. They're gonna compound in growth, or they will compound in loss. You will
Mhm.
lose it faster than you ever thought possible, but I also think you can grow it faster than you ever thought possible as well.
Yeah, and I appreciate one of the things you said there. The intent behind this is not to freak you out, to paralyze you, it's to activate you. And I love it, anytime you train on anything for an hour a day, dedicated focus time. Just think about if you just did push-ups for an hour a day, or you did, you're going to be in tone shape. You're going to be looking amazing after 1 year. You apply this to AI, it's actually beyond what you're capable because of the now I want to pop into something you said because this forgive me for those who are listening who are like, we know what this means. But I think there's a lot of people who don't fully understand what an agent is. So for those who are right, because so many things have changed. And once again, what I mean by LLMs, ChatGPT, et cetera, Gemini, these are the democratization of artificial intelligence, which has been around for 30, 40 years, right? This is not a new thing.
Right.
It's the democratization. You and I, with little cost for $20 a month, can get access to some of those powerful computers in the world and can start using it. But explain to people, because like there's those prompts that you talked about, which once again, you put something in and it makes it easier for an outcome to come about. But an agent is very different. Explain to those who don't understand what do you really mean by an agent?
An agent is a piece of software using AI that can determine its own objective and method to achieve that objective. So it literally is a little software robot that I can say, go and do this thing, and it figures out how to do that thing. Versus me sitting and prompting consistently and saying, what would you do next? And how would I do this? And that sort of thing. And then having to go and do that. The agentic world is now upon us. I was in a coffee shop in New Orleans in between meeting a friend and doing a speaking engagement. And I said, there's this little piece of follow up that isn't being well done in my inbox. It's on me, it's totally me. How might I fix that? And what I was asking the AI LLM to do was to tell me how to fix it. And it said instead, this is how I would fix it. Would you like me to fix that for you? And I said, yes. And I opened a browser window. I logged in and it did all of the build out on its own without any interaction from me. And then it came back and said, by the way, your website that I referenced to build this applet is out of date. Would you like me to update the website? Within 90 minutes, I had a full functioning, brand new website that's beautiful, way better than anything I could put together myself, and an intake for investments that would then be screened against my investment criteria and prioritized and emailed. Some of the emails I'll never see, and some of them I will, to be able to handle that workflow in a more professional manner than I was doing. 90 minutes to do that. And it cost me nothing. It cost me the $100 a month that I spend, or the $200 a month that I spend in LLM fees. That's it. It's a new world. The economics are on, we've turned them on their head.
So let's comparatively talk through this. What would that have cost you in the past, and how long would it have taken for those things to be created and developed without what you just did?
The app could have cost, as little as 10,000 bucks, but probably would have had feature creep and that sort of thing for 30,000 bucks if I did a custom app. It was a simple featherweight CRM process that needed to be done. So you can say, well, you could have gotten that, for 19 bucks a month on a piece of SaaS that could have done it, and then you would have had to set it up. The website reskin, registration, and all of that, 5 to 10,000 bucks maybe. for the level of design work that I wanted to have done on it and the incorporation of assets and things like that. So, at a mid case would have been 50,000 bucks. A low case could have been 15,000. Um, and it cost me, I mean, literally not, it was sunk cost. I'd already bought it.
How are you seeing, once again, what I call practical issues of where traditional roles that perhaps are in an office space, maybe with some of the clients investment you have, of where you might have had a full team 18 months ago, but now you're heading to one. What are some examples
Yeah.
that you've seen this like practically take place?
Yeah. The deeper in the back office you are, the more danger I would say surrounds that. So if your job is moving data between fields and different systems, toast. If your job is taking information, on paper and putting it into some digital environment, toast. Um, we simply do not need human effort to do that at scale any longer. And the more that refines, the more that's going to show up in economic terms. So that's very interesting. But I think everybody pretty much knows that, right? We would all automate the lowest complexity tasks that we have. I'll tell you the amazing things that I'm seeing right now. Investment analysts um, are in a precarious position now. I have a friend whose son has an engineering degree and a business degree from Clemson. It's a good school. He should have all kinds of opportunities available to him. He wants to be an analyst because one day he wants to run his own fund. So he has applied for 50 or 60 of those jobs. He hasn't received a single job offer or interview. And I think the reason is that the hiring managers are looking at that and saying, if I give it another month, then all of the analyst work that I'm going to bring somebody in and train to do, I'm going to be able to do from a simple keystroke, which is already the case, especially with Claude's introduction of co-work recently. That's already the case, and I think that's a problem for him. He expressed his dad was expressing that to me yesterday, and I said, "Why does he have to wait to have his own fund?" I
Hmm.
mean, if he now has the best analyst on earth as well, then he needs to figure out how to raise money for a fund and close on an investment thesis and that kind of thing. And AI can help him do that as well if he's willing to do the things that only he can do. Which brings me to a couple of other points. One, I have a client who is in the process of entertaining offers for their firm. We took the QuickBooks GL download and uploaded it to an LLM and said, go through this as if you were the world's best M&A advisor, and pull out, you know, any of the non-recurring expenses that will not stay with the acquirer after we sell the business. Add backs is what we call them in the industry. So if you're making your boat payment through your insurance agency, not that I am, then you would pull that out because your acquirer is not going to take your boat as well as your business, for example. It produced an additional $146,000 in ad backs over and above what the consultants and the accountant had already done. He's selling that business for 11x. It's $1.5 million in extra money that he found by using that and in doing that process. I was intrigued. So I went into the logs and found out that that cost 1.7 cents in compute that we had to use in the API key to produce that result. That's interstellar. And those are the kinds of things that we are seeing just because we know what to do and where to ask right now. But again, they're becoming a utility. They're becoming so embedded that within the year, you will not have to ask those things anymore.
Love that. Impact is dramatic, right? I mean, that's just absolutely fascinating. So I have two, I guess, thoughts of curiosity. One is here you are, you're doing more than the average person, right, in terms of using AI today at this moment, right? I'm not talking about somebody who's a programmer. I'm talking about somebody who is
Yeah.
an executive who's running a businesses. What what applications are you using? I'm kind of curious. What's your kind of you found to be your favorite, or what are you biased towards, depending on what you're
As far as
searching
my
or
tech stack
resolving?
goes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I was a big ChatGPT person until they fell on their face with five, refused to admit it, began smoke screening and all of that sort of thing. And so I still pay for my team's version of ChatGPT, but we are in the process of migrating away. We are moving to Claude, that is the Anthropic product. I also pay for Perplexity and I pay for Grok as well. And if there was another one out there, I'd probably pay for that one too.
What was the other one? The
Um,
last one you said?
Perplexity and Grok.
Gronk. Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
Grok from X.com.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
And
Yeah.
the answer is that each of these has a different modality. Each of them has an area that they shine, that they are measurably better or demonstrably better than the competitor. And I look at it this way: they're all roughly 20 to $100 a month. If you want the full suite at Claude, you're going to be at $200 a month. And I use Gemini from Google as well. I don't pay extra for that. But my point is this: you would never in your business have a single person that you would go to for every single thing.
Mm.
And so I go to Grok if I want to check some really real time stuff because it's indexing and publishing X.com posts immediately. Um, if I want a little more considered history of my writing, then I go to ChatGPT because ChatGPT is pretty good if I choose the right model at sounding like me in a way that I can edit and make it feel good. Claude now has Claude itself, which is an LLM, Co-work, which is what you do to work on files saved on your computer. So if you want to rework a PowerPoint presentation because you're speaking at Tommy Breedlove's event in a couple of weeks, you go to Co-work to do that. And then Claude Code is where you can actually do coding inside of applications and producing applications. And then just a little break off of that, I use Replit to produce actual usable code as well, only because it is the simplest thing on earth to produce. I've published 3 apps based on Replit, and it's just me sitting there saying, "No, I don't like this. Change this," and it does it. So that's probably the tech stack that I use. I this morning ordered a Mac Mini because I'm going to build out an open claw to see how that goes, and
Mm.
my COO has already done
Hmm.
that.
No, thanks for going through that. And once again, it's I appreciate it that there is, once again, like a lot of things, there's different tools today, different LLMs, and of solutions to go towards that. I noticed you didn't mention Gemini at all, but that
I
cause
use it for the Nano Banana, which
okay.
is awfully good, and I use Gemini when the context window is massive. So when I need to put 200,000 characters into something, and get an output from it, I will use Gemini. Those are the sort of connection points. To get in between them, of course, you have to use Zapier and Make.com and N8N and those kinds of things, and I'm primarily a Make.com person for that. But yeah, we use all of them, and I think everybody should. But look, adding all of that up together, I don't spend $1,000 a month,
Yeah, crazy.
and I'm getting the equivalent productivity of 15 or 20 employees. I mean, the math becomes so silly. This example of a penny for $1.5 million, the gross math on that is 15 billion% return. That's not even annualized. What if you could do that every minute of the day? I mean, the math becomes astronomical and you just can't think it anymore.
I'm no math major, Trey, but what you described is a lot of work and a lot of areas that somebody else would be getting paid to do, or you'd be paying somebody to do, and they're not going to be getting it anymore. Sounds like to me there's going to be some sort of massive deflationary thing, at least within certain industries or certainly certain organizations, companies. You've already mentioned this. Maybe that was our pre-call software, 80% margins. That's going away, right?
And as well it should,
Fair enough.
right?
Right.
I
Yes, of
mean,
course.
if you know the price of everything over a long enough time frame goes to zero.
Yes.
So we love in our industry, you and I, when we do our speaking, people will talk about the cost of a buggy whip, right? And the buggy whips, were very expensive when they were new, and then they got progressively cheaper, and they reverted basically to a price of zero. Why? Because nobody needs a buggy whip. Why? Because they don't have a buggy.
That's right.
It's that sort of thing, and you have to be very cognizant of that. And the thing about AI is that it's just a great levelizer. And so these SaaS companies
Yeah.
who we've invested in, and I'm thrilled to have done so for many years, these SaaS companies have been charging 82% gross margin on 29.99 a month, and maybe they should have moved that a little more aggressively in the past because AI is coming for them. We are so close to having software on tap that the idea of buying software or renting it will be crazy talk. Our grandkids will be like, "Grandpa, did you used to buy, software on online or something like that?" They won't be able to believe it. And we are this close to that.
Mm.
This is not 5 years and 10 years away. This is less than 12 months away.
What happens to all these companies and employees? What's going to happen? I mean, it to me, that's why I keep on going. There's the Lieutenant Dan and the Bubba Gump shrimp boat that's going to win.
Yeah, and I think that is the answer. I think the answer is, anytime we part company with someone in one of our companies, we say that we've encouraged them to seek their happiness elsewhere. Um, and that is what this is going to amount to a lot of the time. It is going to be that somebody goes and says, I will use these tools to build something for myself that makes me happy. Or I will not use these tools and find a way to be happy in wherever it is that I end up when this is not necessary. There are things I do firmly believe that AI will struggle with over a longer period of time. Um, and that is the establishment of trust to impact human decision making.
Hmm.
That's going to be a lot harder,
Yeah.
um, but it may indeed get there. The speaker that I mentioned yesterday that came to the board meeting said as he was leaving, don't encourage your kids to go to liberal arts school. They can just go straight and get a job at Palantir in high school. And I disagreed with so much of what he said, but that specifically, a liberal arts education. I remember having this conversation as an 18-year-old with my dad, who said, you go to college to get a job. And I said, no, I go to college to get educated. And that is the core of Western education. That concept of the Greek word is paideia, which is learning how to live the good and considered life. I'm not sure that AI is gonna get there.
Yeah.
I don't wanna say that and then be so stupidly wrong about it, but it isn't gonna get there tomorrow, and it's something that I should be working on more. So the better person that I try to become and the more human that I try to become, my humanness is what is going to be most valuable in a world that is, um fake human or inauthentically human going forward, that's where it's really going to shine for us individually. So when I say people should go seek their happiness, that's what I mean. Is like
Mm.
we need to go back and learn how to be human. We need to learn poetry and why it's beautiful, and we need to learn the elegance of simple mathematics and all of those things that you're really supposed to learn the first couple of years in your post-secondary education. They become even more important now, I think.
That's really, really interesting, Trey. Because what one of my observations has been, it's been incredible how the exponential fee of buying a professional sports team has been, right? It's been exponential, the return on that. Because as you know, they don't necessarily make a whole lot of money year over year, right? Necessarily operating income, but the long term capital value. And part of the reason I believe it's been growing so much is because it's one of the few things in the future that people can see something live with humans that is hopefully not doctored. right? It feels like a real experience. And yes, my Patriots took a beating against the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Noted, folks. But all that being said, right, there's still this feeling of it being real, right? And
Yeah.
there's something around that. And what you were describing, poetry or you know, experiential things, I kind of almost believe there's going to be this renaissance towards human elements, but almost out of necessity because the job you were doing beforehand is not necessary anymore.
Yeah, it is it's a challenge. And so, the other thing, are we humans that are supposed to be doing things? Are we human doings? Or are we human beings? Or my
Mm,
personal favorite, are we human becomings? You know? It is only since the Industrial Revolution really that, our entire identity and justification for existence was our job. I mean, before that, we did jobs, to live. We didn't live to do the jobs, and it's very much different now. We have so much identity psychology with what we do. I'm giving a talk now, Carl. You might like to hear it, and it's about Winston Churchill. And one of my great observations on Churchill is his identity was never at risk. It didn't matter what happened in his life, and he had crazy ups and downs. He was a POW, nobody knows that. He was all of these, crazy ups and downs that he got stuck, and then he would get unstuck, but at no point was he never not Churchill. And that's a very rare thing because I have a friend right now who is going through, the loss of his business. His income is going away, but more importantly for him, that business card is going to go away.
that's
And
right.
he's so integrated with that identity that it's really troublesome psychologically for him. And it's easy for me to stand way back and say this happens to him, but it would happen to me as well if I couldn't be a CEO or a speaker or somebody who didn't care about my ideas enough to speak with me about them. That would be impactful for my identity. And this is just going to be one of these cosmic shifts
Mm,
for humanity.
hmm hmm
And then if you really want to freak out, how are we going to understand our grandkids, you know, who simply say, "Hey, computer," and then something, materializes for them? Really insane. If you're following all of this OpenClaw or ClaudeBot agentic AI revolution that's going on, the bots are hiring humans to do the things physically that they can't do. Somebody turned the bots on to, oh, I forget the name of it now. Uh, Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot the name of it, but where you can hire somebody to go pick up your laundry or something like that. Well, the bots figured it out. So they're having somebody take this item down to this store to be able to sell it for this price so that they can. I mean, it's a topsy-turvy thing. And our grandkids are going to grow up with that as their norm.
Love this. Love this conversation and the need to change rapidly. It is fascinating how so much of this too is changing coincidentally when our baby boomer population has just hit peak retirement age, right? And so we're on the cusp of we're still a ton of people retiring, right?
The boomers do a lot right, they do a lot wrong, but man, do they have timing. I swear.
No, exactly. That's the funny part is like it's kind of going to all work out for them.
It's
Um,
all working out for them. It
they
always
won't have to
does.
worry about this, but our generation, we're going to be right in the midst of this, and we're the kind of live experience that lead through it, and then we have this generation above. I think of my kids as they're going through and helping them to understand relevance, right? And providing once again creating value, right, of where you can do things because it's evolving so much. One of the things I'm also seeing, I see this in our accounting business. This is something I didn't, in the past. I'm probably getting this slightly off, but you typically would have a business and you'd focus on one of three things: quality, like let's say like the product quality, right? Or you'd have
Yep.
service, or
Yep.
you price. And pretty much the marketing say pick one. And I actually think they're wrong now. I think it's all three.
Mm.
Let me explain that just for a moment. with the costs dwindling, spiraling, going down in some
Yeah.
industries, right? You are not going to survive if your cost structure is too much. So you have to have lower price. If you aren't don't have a great product, nobody will buy it or service. And
Yep.
if you aren't providing a great service, if there isn't a human touch, if it's required, if it's necessary, right? Obviously, a lot of things don't even need humans, but I mean, there are things that do require humans. If you don't give trust, like I think that's such an important component. Like in our accounting firm, we're winning on all three. Like I very intentionally set up this business not to charge premium pricing
Yeah.
because I see it going down.
Yeah. Let me blow your mind on something with this. We have built a tax code with the understanding of the workforce who can enforce it or comply with it. Okay. Now think about what that workforce looks like if it's nothing but agentic AI. Don't we go back to the tax code and say we should only be taxing the things that the agents can fill out the forms for or make the appeals
Mm,
for or those kinds of things? And naive me thinks, oh, we could have a lighter weight tax code. No, no, they are better at counting things in real time.
yeah.
And so the entire tax regime that we think of as tax someone's income, well, we're already proving that someone's income is not going to be the same in the future. It may be non-existent entirely in the future, right? So how do you tax that? How do you tax the, daily increases in investment values and those kinds of things can be very different. I think we're going to get into a universally active tax on activity, not even
Mm,
consumption, but activity.
activity. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the convergence of cryptocurrency, which means that we can do micro transactions. I might spend a tenth of a penny every morning to do some activity that is taxable so that by the end of the day, maybe I pay my taxes at the end of every single day. It sounds very dystopian, but I'm just pointing out that we have to question everything. And I keep finding this more and more the older I get, the greatest error that the human mind makes, and this is how we're built, it's an inertia mind. We think that if it's been this way for 5 years, it's going to be this way for 50 years, and
Yeah.
we will take our eye off that ball,
Right.
right?
Right.
And every single catastrophic thing that happens in human society, I think you can trace back to that idea. If you look back to the aristocrats running France before the revolution, they were thinking, well, these peasants are mad, but they've been mad before. Everything's going to be fine in the next 100 years. And the entire thing blows up on them. I think we see that a lot, but to be able to be Churchillian in the way that we look at the reality of the situation and respond to what the reality is going to be, I'm not sure that we have enough of that in our society.
The analogy of heads rolling,
Heads will
little
roll. Yes.
little too real there, and there's going to be a lot of heads rolling, for people who don't change. But I go back to two, and I appreciate what you said. I just want to say why we're talking about this. Why is to motivate you. For those who are listening, Trey and I are already plenty motivated, but for you or those who are listening, I hope you're on this leading edge or start getting leading edge today. Start practicing. I love the idea, Trey, of 1 hour. That by the way, that 1 hour concept is not new,
No, not at all.
right?
I've had that habit for whatever it is that I wanted to learn forever.
Right.
That's one of the ways that I was able, for 20 years, I read 100 books a year. I had to get good at grokking that information. But yeah, it was just the intentional setting aside of time to expand my knowledge. And look, the tip, this is how unsophisticated it is. Go find 5 email newsletters that talk about AI. And first thing in the morning when they come into your inbox, work on them. Meaning, read the article, understand the article. If it says this is an app that you should look at, go look at it, sign up for it. I got an AI Gmail address just to put all of those signups in so that I know they're all in one place and I don't get spammed everywhere else, because 90% of them I never go back to. But, that's the effort. And it doesn't feel like hard work. Your brain will do the work of synthesis and putting it all together over time. But yeah, that's the whole playbook right there.
Okay, Trey, I'm doing our picture here. You ready for this?
Ready.
There we go. Boom. Okay, live. Okay. Hey, this has been amazing, Trey. I love what you're doing. I'm so glad we have been connected. Enjoy. Tell Tommy hello when you're at the event. I was supposed to
Will
be there
do.
as well, but I've got this band and dunes experience. I have to conflict,
That's
so
a hard one to miss. Yeah.
so I have to go there. But for those who aren't following, once again, you've got a great blog. I highly recommend it. Recommend how can people connect, learn more about what you're doing. How would they do that,
Yeah.
Trey?
So the newsletter is found at plantyourflag.live. It's free. It comes out whenever I feel like I have something to say, which sometimes is 5 days a week, and sometimes is once every couple of weeks. I write about topics that face business leaders. I write a good bit about AI as well there, but by no means exclusively on that content. And then I'm on LinkedIn. Trey Taylor, JD is the ID there. And then, my book, A CEO Only Does Three Things, is available on Amazon and Audible. And it is now certified the most gifted book in the Inc. 5000. Yep. Yeah, we are very proud of that. I have a friend that made the Inc. 5000 last year, and he said, "Your book helped me get there, and I want to buy 5,000 copies and send it to every single CEO in the Inc. 5000. I don't care what it costs, get it done." And I snapped to and said, "Yes, sir." And those books are out, and we're getting all kinds of renaissance, and people finding out about the book has been really amazing and very touching on LinkedIn and other social platforms as well.
Trey, congratulations.
Yeah, I was really excited about that. Yeah.
That is really special. So, as you've heard, folks listening, Trey is truly one of the best. It is always. I appreciate getting to call you a friend. It's funny. I get a lot of different blogs. You are the one I read the most frequently. I respond to
Hey.
the most frequently, and you have great insights. And I love it too because Trey is one of those people. He's gonna tell you what is on his mind, not to make you necessarily happy. And so be prepared when you have interaction with Trey. And I say this in a good way. Trey is one of those people. The hardest thing as a CEO, business owner, is not being told the truth.
Yeah.
And part of what Trey does, what we try to do here is to tell you the truth, regardless. We try to say it in a nice way, but we want to make sure you're getting the truth. And the truth, um, let's make sure your heads aren't rolling, right? As this transformation is happening and taking place. Trey, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Enjoyed it, Carl. Always enjoy the conversation. And right back at you on your newsletter, by the way. When it hits Saturday morning, and if I don't see it in my inbox, I'm typically texting you and asking you where it is.
No, it is a labor of love, but it's one of the more enjoyable things. My Patriots blog that came out in the Super Bowl, of course. I do have to. I'm writing mine right now to finish up for the Saturday release, and I have to make a note of congratulations, Seahawks fans, and then we can move on, of course, to the my episode. This about is how I responded to 600 LinkedIn invitations. So it should be hopeful you enjoy that. But once again, everyone who's listening, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Thank you so much for being part of this. Why we've stayed in the top 10 strategic planning and execution podcasts is because we try to create value, have great guests, great conversation. To everyone, as we always like to say, wishing you the very best and measuring your success. Have a great day.